Lyons here, and welcome back. I can't believe we are on, oh my gosh, like tip number 8, are we? No, tip number 7. Tip number 7. We are 2/3 of the way in already. Tuesday, December 6th. I can't believe this. And I know that I've been giving you guys a lot of exercises to do on this completing the year and, wrapping up 2011. But hopefully you've been staying with it and enjoying it. I know the last couple of tips have been fun. We've talked about accomplishments and, acknowledging yourself. And as I promised you last time, I've got Jim Orr here. He's a dear friend of mine for, I think, a long time, Jim, eh?
Like 12, 15 years.
I was thinking 12, I was going to say 12 to 15 years as well. Like, it goes back a long ways. And as I told you last time, Jim is a magnificent cinematographer, an award-winning cinematographer, working in feature films and all genres of television. Very established, I would say, I've not, like I said, I've known Jim for a long time. And to me, he's somebody who is just classy. That's how I know him as. It's just classy and sophisticated and centered and just somebody you want to play with in the industry. It's kind of like serious about his work and professional, but at the same time, just wonderful to be around and to play with, So I'm just honored and thrilled that he came to join us today, because I know what I've been putting these 3 people through, Jim, has not been easy. Most of the tips that I work on, the 10 tips are like on pitching or success, or they're pretty concrete stuff. And this is a little more esoteric, what we've been working on this past couple of weeks, and a little more gut wrenching, let's say. It's a little closer to home, and having people to kind of go back and look at incompletions and things like that are not something that comes naturally to a lot of us. And I think today's is no different. What we're working on today with tip number 7, guys, is acknowledging others. I know last time we talked about the whole distinction of acknowledgement and acknowledging yourself and how important that is to have that self-acknowledgement. But now the flip side of it is acknowledging others, because I think that's just as missing in our culture, Jim, and in our industry, definitely in our industry, in the entertainment industry. It's I'd say probably one of the worst in the world.
Right.
And so, and Jim feels the same way about that as I do in terms of that whole distinction acknowledgement. Jim's been in the Launching the Future program with me now for a number of years off and on, and that's a big one for all of us. We always kind of really stop and pay severe attention to this one, because I think it's so missing, and we love to put it in, and we try to be kind of leaders in our community too. And I think as leaders, we have to be the ones to take these distinctions and run with them and put them in our lives and share them with other people, So I'm just going to let you take over and chat a little bit about the importance of acknowledging others and why is that important?
Right. Well, I think it's important, like when you were talking to me and you were acknowledging my work that I've done, and that felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good when you're saying that. So
Got it. Cool.
Just think, when you're acknowledging someone else authentically, of course, you have to tell a person what you love that they've given, or a picture they've made, or a role they've acted in, or anything like that. Really, it cuts through the bullshit and gets you to a connection.
Yeah.
And plus, it makes you feel good. I love to acknowledge people that do a great job on a picture I've seen shot, or a TV show I've seen shot, or a camera move that I think is great, that a camera operator did.
Sure.
Or the lighting somebody did. And
I never thought of that. So it's not just the feeling good that the other person's going to have, but you actually feel good when you're doing it. That's cool.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm just saying that now because it is fun to help people and tell them, I love your role in that movie, or I love the script you've written. And it's
like a gift.
It's a gift. It's a gift for them for sure, and it feels good to give. It's coming up on the holidays, and it's great to be able to give gifts and to get them too. But it's also like they say, giving gifts. So.
Wow. And do you notice that it's kind of it creates an opportunity to meet people too in this industry, because it's something that's so rare and so seldom.
Right. Authentically. So authentically, when somebody does that, it just cuts through, because then you're like, oh, I acknowledge you for making this slate of movies or whatever it is. It's true, versus somebody that's just trying to talk to you to help their career.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I do is I make a point of it. When I'm on a movie set with my cast and crew, I truly make a point. I'm not lying. Like if I'm thrilled about, let's say the costuming or whatever, I make a point. I write it down. I'm not getting in my day timer.
Right.
And I will approach the head of the costume department or whatever, and I'll acknowledge her. And I'll do the same thing if with the makeup artist or whatever. I mean, I truly make a point. And I think because we're all so busy and caught up in our own lives, Jim, I think I actually have to write it in my day timer to get me thinking about it, to get me in the practice of it. I mean, it's kind of sad. I mean, that it's kind of scarce in my thinking. But to get yourself back in the practice, because it's something that's so seldom done, we almost have to make a point of it.
Yeah, and I love when the producer comes and says, because I'm a crew member, being a cinematographer, it's lovely when they come around and say, you did a great job, love the costumes, love the lighting, love the set deck.
Wow.
It just makes everyone feel good, and you wanna do your best.
Wow.
We all want to contribute, we all want to give, and it just feels good when people acknowledge you.
Yeah.
And on the other side, it also makes your production better. It makes the environment better, so everyone has a good time and everyone works harder even.
Because you want to play more because it's like you feel like appreciated. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. To me, I know this sounds crazy because you guys are thinking, well, Suzanne, why are you talking about this? Why are you and Jim talking about this when what we're doing is wrapping up 2011, completing on it? What the heck has this got to do with completion? But the truth is, I truly believe, Jim, that acknowledging yourself and acknowledging others is part of being complete. I really do. I find there's just that something that it's fulfilling. You feel good, and it feels complete. And what my husband and I do is when we're working on our holiday cards, we actually look and say, who do we want to acknowledge? And we put little notes in, and not just like a flippant acknowledgement, but really why. What is it that person did that altered my life or that affected my life or impacted my life in such a way that I want to acknowledge that person? So it's kind of like, what is that in the background too? It's not just that, thank you for being in my life or, you're great. But what is it that truly touched me, that impacted me? What is that kind of, that's kind of behind the acknowledgement that I look for and write that down?
Yeah, because we're not, even though we're individuals, we're not alone. We have our champions. We have people that do good comments about us. We have people that want us to help or even just give us a hint throughout the day or a little good job. That feels great.
Yeah.
So I love to give that back too. I'll call somebody up that I haven't talked to, and because I just thought of them, like, I love when they acknowledge me for something. Wow. So I want to acknowledge them for calling and saying, you did a good job on that, or thanks for the referral, or whatever it is. So.
Nice. Very cool. Well, this is great. So I hope we have made it clear between the two of us that this is something that you want to take on, and don't wait for other people either. It's like sometimes, my husband's really good like this. He'll request it. If I forget to acknowledge him, he'll actually say, hey, this great dinner that I made tonight, I'd like to be acknowledged for making this great dinner, Right. And I have a friend of mine where her husband used to forget her birthday all the time. And I'd say to her, well, why don't we remind him? So she'd say, yeah, you know what? Acknowledge me. My birthday's coming up. So, don't just wait. But, start to demand it. And then for you, start to put it out there where you are acknowledging people. If it means you have to flex that muscle that you haven't done it before, then write it in your day timer. Start to get in practice of it. So hopefully Jim and I have shown you how important it is to receive that acknowledgement from other people, and how fun it is, like you mentioned, to give the acknowledgement to people. It actually makes you feel good and has you feel complete, for God's sakes. All part of completion, all part of like finishing and completing your year. So put this into practice. Start to make a list right now of who you want to acknowledge. Even start if you're doing your holiday cards, perfect time to do it. And that's it. So I will see you guys on Thursday. This has been a fun one. This is an important one. I love this one, acknowledging others. See you on Thursday when we'll move on to tip number 8. Once again, thank you, Jim, for joining us, and thank you everybody for joining us, and I'll see you next time.